Welcome back. Now, the benefits of medical marijuana have become more mainstream over the last years. Now, everything from helping people with seizures, chronic pain, to treating depression, anxiety, cancer, and Parkinson's disease.
Joining us today to explain more about it is Dr. Paul Lyons, a neurologist, and 2-year-old Lillian Baker and her mom, Cassandra, who have seen remarkable results. Thank you so much for joining us. Oh, just got word, she is 3 now, grown up so fast.
Yay! We appreciate it.
Thank you all for being here.
Definitely. Doctor, we'll get right into it. Let's talk to you first. Talk to us a little bit about your clinical experience and some of the benefits of medical marijuana.
Yeah, for the last 2.5 years, we've worked with the FDA and the DEA in a clinical research trial on about 24 children and adults with epilepsy that's drug resistant, and they've had exceptional responses in terms of seizure freedom, seizure number, and also quality of life and functional status.
So this is different than THC. We're talking about CBD. Could you explain the difference to our viewers?
Yeah, so the bud of the marijuana plant has a group of molecules called cannabinoids, and there's about 80 to 100 of them. And the one that we focus on is CBD, and it's not psychoactive. Another one that's not psychoactive is THCA. It's a precursor to THC. THC is psychoactive. So what we use in children and adults with epilepsy aren't psychoactive.
Okay, and tell us a little bit about Lillian's story.
Yeah.
At 7 weeks old, she was dropped on her head onto a hardwood floor. She had to be induced into a coma at the ICU at Johns Hopkins, and after they were bringing her out of that, they realized she was having seizures. She's on 2 medications that weren't working. Her neurologist was actually considering putting her on a 3rd medication. And I told him, you know, you see all the time about how medical marijuana has helped a lot of people with different diagnoses.
Yeah.
So I thought, I'll try it. And she's been seizure-free ever since.
That's fantastic.
I had I've had Child Protective Services on me, everything, but it's helping her. She's been seizure-free for over a year now.
So this is the only thing that's helping her right now?
Yes.
Wow.
Her 2 medications that she's on now, she was on the highest dose for her body weight and age. And now that she's growing, she's a lot more heavier. Her neurologist hasn't had to touch her medication dosage, and it's all because of her hemp oil.
Yeah, so Dr. Lyons, let's talk a little bit about that. A lot of people with epilepsy are put on so many different medications. They might have a lot of negative side effects. Could you speak to those medications versus the CBD oil? Yeah,
despite over a century of research on drugs for epilepsy, 1/3 of all patients with epilepsy, about 3 million Americans, have daily, weekly, or monthly seizures. We call them drug resistant. So the cannabinoid, CBD being one example, is a new class of molecules that act very effectively in the brain, inhibiting seizures by quieting down nerve cells.
Wow. And tell us about the process with the CBD oil.
So it's in the cases here and also with other companies such as GW Pharmaceutical, they take the whole plant and purify it and extract it, assure that all the solvents and pesticides and herbicides are removed, and in essence it's reduced to an oil that children or adults take by mouth.
So obviously there's all these positive, feedback and, great medical proof. Why do you think that medical marijuana still has a bad backlash in today's society?
Well,
so many people.
Up until 2012, there were actually very few studies, if any, that were well designed to prove the efficacy of medical marijuana. And it's just now, the last 2 years, that we have this literature. So the FDA is certainly not opposed to it. They just need the gold standard, which would be clinical research trials, which is what we're all trying to engage in as fervently as possible.
And if people are interested in learning more, where can we find more information?
From the state legislatures, from the Epilepsy Foundation, and from the NIH would be excellent sources that are reliable.
Well, thank you so much for sharing your insight. Thank you, Lillian, for being here. You look fantastic.
Lillian.
Doing so well. Thank you again for being here, all of you.
Thank you.
Thank you.